Good evening, everybody. I'm Wave Storm Tracking Team meteorologist Ryan Hoke. Sorry, we're a few minutes late here, having some technical issues in here, which is always fun when you're trying to fix that, while also getting on the air with an alert day update here on Wave Weather Now. All right, so let's give you what's going on right now, and that is at the bottom of your screen, a wavy alert based on the Trimark information we have. The I-264 West ramp from Bardstown Road there has a crash on it. So that's not surprising given the wet roads out there. Yes, the roads are mainly wet this evening, which is a good thing, but we will certainly see the potential for some more snow. It's just not going to be a lot. You see the wet camera lens there from our Paristown SkyTrack camera, and that's kind of indicative of what a lot of folks are seeing. Some snow in some places, but not a huge helping of snow, and that's pretty much what we expect this evening is kind of a wet snow event here. Olivia Harrell says a mix of rain, snow, and sleet falling in Bethlehem, Kentucky, getting slick on the railings. Light mix in Bardstown, few flakes here and there. 9:35 p.m. still 0.36, or still 36, I should say, not 0.36, still 36 degrees here in Trimble County. From Kathy, thank you, Kathy. And then we've got our friend DJ on this evening, says good morning, or good evening, I should say, from North Vernon, Indiana. We've got a report of snow accumulating only on grass down in Cecilia, Kentucky, down in Hardin County. That's via wavy there. And still light rain in J-Town. And of course, hello. From Flint Hill, Kentucky, from Americus. Hello to you. All right, let's give you the lowdown on what's going on outside, what we expect this evening here. And that is, for now, some rain, but snow, of course, is going to become more of an issue for some, especially in the Bluegrass region, overnight tonight. See, the alert day continues until late tonight. We're going to probably lift this at midnight the way things are looking. Maybe some light, slushy snow totals. You may have some slick spots on bridges and overpasses, but the roads will be mainly wet. It may be until after sunrise tomorrow morning that we get down to freezing here in Louisville. Snow accumulating on the grass in Campbellsburg, Kentucky right now. Low visibility also possible in some of these wet snow bursts. We've got the winter weather advisory right now east of Louisville. This is east of I-65 as you see it here. Tonight's slushy snowfall, I've adjusted this map, mainly east and south of Louisville, the way things are looking right now. Could see up to an inch from Bardstown down to Columbia. Again, this is mainly on grassy surfaces here. 1 to 2 inches possible out in the Bluegrass region of Kentucky. That's mainly east of Lebanon. Now, I continue to move that east because we continue not to see a whole lot of snow out of this, and our window of opportunity is closing at this time for that potential here in our counties. And you'll see why here. We're already starting to see that dry slot working in on the west side of this thing here, and that is currently over Paoli, Corydon, areas just west of Louisville right now. Still some bursts of rain, maybe a little snow mixed in there, but that's kind of the hard back edge of this thing. You may still get a snow burst even here in Louisville before the end of this, but our time, again, is running short on that. Whereas if you're in southern and central Kentucky out here in the Bluegrass region, you've got several more hours of this. And as the temperature falls, you'll have more of an opportunity to see that burst of wet snow down that way. This has told the story today. The temperatures, we got down to 32 degrees there in Madison. They've been holding there for quite some time. I think French Lick / Paoli was down to 32 for a bit there. 36 here in Louisville. That's well above freezing. Lebanon at 32. E-Town 32. Litchfield 32. The ground is still kind of refrigerated, not frozen, because of how warm we got today in the 40s. So that will be helpful in keeping treated roads in pretty good shape, and most of the roads just wet. Just watch for those slick spots on bridges, overpasses, flyover ramps, exit ramps, anything that's not touching the ground road surface wise. That could be a problem here, any sort of elevated roadway here. These are MPing reports. They've been also scrolling at the bottom of your screen, popping up every once in a while from Wavy here. You'll see we've got a couple of little sleet reports. Those are in purple, but most of this has been rain, or it has been a mix of rain and snow, or maybe just straight snow in some cases here, right? Let's zoom things out. You'll note that we do have that rain trying to change to snow over us. The heavier bursts of rain have been putting down snow because of evaporative cooling, a little bit of dynamic cooling, as you've got the updrafts in the atmosphere trying to stretch the air a little bit, decrease the temperature, adiabatic cooling. Hello, science nerds. And that's why we're seeing the potential for snow in heavier bursts of this and rain in lighter bursts. It's all about kind of that precipitation rate. Also kind of momentum bringing down some of the colder air. Speaking of colder air out to our west, we do have some snow showers near St. Louis. That's what's going to be moving through late tonight and early tomorrow morning as we see it right now. So why do bridges and overpasses become such a problem in this kind of scenario when you're getting right down to around 32 degrees? The problem is that cold air circulates underneath these bridges and overpasses. And it, in turn, creates a situation where the surface of the road on these bridges and overpasses gets cold pretty quickly, and colder than the road surface that's touching the ground adjacent to it. So therefore, bridges and overpasses get slick before the main roads or the roads touching the actual soil or ground surface do. So that's something to keep in mind. So let's talk about Saturday real quick here. You'll see that we do have a little burst of snow early tomorrow morning. I may need to advance that a little bit closer to real time here. Maybe 2 to 4 a.m. might be more closer to that, like 40% snow, just because of what we saw out in St. Louis there. It may come in here a little quicker. We'll see. And then by 6 p.m. on Saturday, another burst of snow showers moving through. I know this is going to be like death by 1,000 snow showers here. You see how that snow leaves us early tomorrow morning, by the way, and then we get in on those snow showers for tomorrow evening, 5, 6, 7 p.m. This is mainly a Kentucky thing, the way things look now, but they would be light, but they could cause some slick spots because temperatures will likely be a lot closer to freezing than they are now. Now, we do have a few snow showers trying to move through Sunday evening as well. The model's just not painting a whole lot with this. But again, it's another situation where snow plus below freezing temperatures makes a problem out of things, all right? We've got a lot of folks, of course, tuning in this evening here, giving us their snow reports. I'll put up those MPing reports here and get to some of your snow reports. Not seeing any snow in North Vernon yet. Yeah, I think your guys are going to get kind of shafted by this, unfortunately. You may see, if you're looking for snow, of course, otherwise it's joyous news, but you may see some additional snowflakes early tomorrow morning too. Snowing in Findlay, seeing snow in Southville from Jamie there. Braden saying hello to Ryan and Wavy. Stephanie's like, all right, since we keep missing all these snows, maybe the big one is soon. Hoping for a big snow in Bardstown. Yeah, this pattern is ripe over the next 10 days. We're getting ready to talk about that here in a minute. Snow reported in E-Town from Emping and Wavy down there. Rain snow mix in Meade County. It's been light rain this whole time, and it's so sad. That's kind of how I've been seeing it too. I was driving on I-64 earlier, saw some snowflakes kind of in my headlights, but that was it. Nothing appreciable here. I don't think it's cold enough, and I don't think there's enough momentum even to overcome that cold to really get us to dynamically or evaporatively cool down to a point where we'd have a problem with snow in Louisville, all right? I think that time has passed. Louisville is not getting any big snow currently. We're not going to get any big snow in the near term. In the long term, that's a different story. And that's going to be my tease forward to more that we're going to talk about. So let's start with Martin Luther King Jr. Day. That's a high temperature here in Louisville of 24 degrees. That'll be a cold, dry day. By the way, so many folks are focused on Miami. They're supposed to be 68 on Monday, which is kind of cool for Miami, by the way, but still warm overall. Great football weather. Mostly sunny skies down there as IU takes on Miami. This is like the football game of a lifetime for this area, right? We've got UK, U of L, and IU. Those are the big three NCAA Division I football schools in our area here. And for IU to make it all the way to the championship like this is El Nutso, right? That is rare. We may never see it again, or maybe they do it next year. We'll see. They're on a streak. 11 degrees by Tuesday morning. That will likely be the coldest of 2026 so far. Factor in the wind, and the wind chill will be near zero here in Louisville. Yikes, 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 yikes. Yeah, I know. That's our first day back to work and school from the 3-day weekend for many of us. And the wind chills will be below zero outside the city. So again, zero in Louisville, below zero possible outside the city. That's going to be kind of a rough and raw sort of situation here. James says 18Z GFS was really good for our area. Obviously changes, but a good signal. Yeah, I agree. It's something to watch, as we're going to talk about here in just a second here. Let's see. Oh, grass, decks, and cars have turned white in E-Town. Holy cow. Let's see if we can't get our E-Town SkyTrack camera up and running here. This is Paristown. We've got snow in Junction City, Kentucky. I think that's the second report I've seen this evening from that area here. Let me log into my handy-dandy big computer remotely. I'm such a millennial. I have to do things on my big computer, even on my phone. There's always these articles that say like the differences between generations are like how you like book airline tickets or how you do big transactions. Do you do it on a phone or do you do it on a desktop computer? And I'm always like, desktop computer. That's such a millennial thing, apparently. Younger generations tend to not mind buying airline tickets and doing big transactions on phones. It's just interesting, right? So I'm logging into my big computer to switch to the SkyTrack camera, if you will, here. So let's get into the right interface here. There we go. We should be able to see E-Town pop up on that SkyTrack camera very shortly here. Here we go. And where is SkyTrack? I think I have it up here. Let's see for just a minute here. It's always tough when you're doing this solo here to try to keep the stream running, to also do the technical stuff here too. Here we go. We're in the SkyTrack interface now. And we should be able to see my selection of E-Town. There's E-Town. Oh, yep, I see low visibility there. You're going to see it pop up on the screen real quick. And 3, 2, 1. Okay, there's E-Town. Come on. There it goes. Okay, so that is a live picture of E-Town. You see how visibility has reduced. Those folks are seeing snow right now in E-Town. Thank you for the report. Who was that? Chris Parker. Chris, thank you for the report this evening. Very, very helpful to have your reports just so that we can have that information, pass it along to our viewers, tell everybody what's going on. David says his yard is covered. We don't want snow in Trimble County, says Kathy. Let's see. Snowing in Sonora down I-65 from E-Town. Not shocked by that one either. So, yeah, we've got some snow. It's happening. I think the snow map I just showed you, let me put it up here again. This is for tonight. I think this looks pretty good based on the radar trends and the reports we're getting here. E-Town kind of on that edge. Sonora kind of on that edge of seeing some measurable snow here potentially. Wherever you see that more apparent gray shade where it says less than 1 inch, Bardstown, Shelbyville, Frankfort, that's measurable snow of less than an inch, like ½ inch, quarter inch. And then near Lexington, that's 1 to 2 inches. Here in Louisville, maybe a dusting, but man, that's going to be tough with this kind of setup here. Rain snow mix in Buckner, Kentucky right now. What's the elevation difference between East and West Louisville? East Louisville, is higher than West Louisville. I know that much. I think West Louisville's 500-ish feet. East Louisville, maybe 550, 600, 700, somewhere in there. Just depends on exactly where you're at. Little bit of a difference, not a whole lot. Doesn't matter as much as like the Floyd's Knobs area, which is like at 1,000 feet elevation. And that's like sitting about 500 feet above downtown Louisville. That makes a difference. That does make a difference. Let's see. Oh, Braden's got good questions. I remember you said something about new live streaming platform for Gray that's coming this month. Has that been released? When's it going to be released? Will we see any changes to the Wave Now app when it's released? I don't know the exact date on that. I know it's coming. It's called Quick Play. That's a public knowledge thing, so I can say that. It is just a different system for our live stream to go through. I don't exactly know the exact changes we'll see for the apps and your streaming experience. What I do know is it will be faster. It'll be more real time. And my hope is that we can up the resolution on that too. I think a lot of these streams come through to you at 720p. I'd like to see some 1080p here. That would be good. So we'll see what happens there. I know they've got good stuff in the works at Gray. They are always looking forward for technology here. We aren't getting much accumulation in Finchville here. Trey's talking about the bust potential Brian was talking about this morning with being too warm. Yeah, I think we're seeing some of that. You know, the reality is always in between. It's not always a complete bust or a complete success, but I think we're leaning, you know, on the bustometer, the bustometer. If you're to go from success to bust here, we're definitely leaning a little bit more toward bust, maybe, just because it was a little too warm. Snow in Upton, Kentucky right now. Not surprising given the reports and what we're seeing on our SkyTrack camera with snow in E-Town, which you see right there. That kind of murkiness, that is snow that we're seeing falling in E-Town. In fact, let's pop up the radar display here, and you'll see that it's kind of hard to tell just because the radar tries to estimate where snow and rain is and then paints these pretty colors, and it does a terrible job. It's just, this has been life for the last 15 years of weather radar display technology. Precipitation type masks, as they're called, where you get to see like the pink, the green, the blue for snow, pink for mix, green for rain, sometimes purple for sleet. I think we've got that too. They're always not good. And that is every single system I have ever pretty much used. That goes from GR2 Analyst to TWC Max, like you're seeing here. And it's just because it can't see what's going on in the very bottom 1,000 feet of the atmosphere. That's where you guys come in handy. That's why those MPing reports are at the bottom of the screen here, because that algorithm, even with AI and all this crazy stuff that we have now, if it doesn't know what the temperature profile is in the bottom 1,000 feet of the atmosphere, you might as well throw it in the garbage here. So some of this green is snow, some of the white is rain. It's opposite of what you think it is just because the radar is a little confused with that algorithm. So hopefully that makes some sense here as to why you're seeing this Neapolitan ice cream level of color on your radar display. And none of it really means a whole lot, just because in this kind of scenario, when you're right on the edge of rain and snow, it is just not precise enough, not accurate enough really to be as precise as it wants to be more technical on that. So hope that clears up some confusion on the radar display there. You see our temperatures. E-Town has dropped to 32, so it's no shock that they have some snow. They have some heavier precipitation down there, and also just kind of some luck that they're even seeing the snow at this point. Here in Louisville, haven't seen any snow reports. In fact, all of it's been rain. All of those raindrops are rain reports in Louisville. Those don't pop up at the bottom of the screen. That would get annoying. Only the winter-related ones do. And you see all the snow reports basically south and east of Louisville. So it's kind of matching up with that snow map update I just gave you there, where it's basically E-Town east, where you may have some brief measurable snow on slushy, I should say, brief accumulating snow on elevated surfaces. Okay, I'm going to take a quick break. I think we've gone through kind of what's going on now. This quick break will last 60 seconds. Some of you may see an ad, some of you may not. And we will talk about potentially bigger things to come for the future of winter weather here in Louisville over the next week and a half or so. Stick with us. We will be right back. right, we're back here. Let's talk a little bit more about upcoming snow attractions, if you will. Thanks to Dylan, by the way, for sending in that report with Georgetown, seeing some snow sticking to his deck there. That's Georgetown, Indiana. So appreciate that, Dylan. So we've got snow also in Indiana at this hour. Okay, here's what's coming. Tonight, of course, the rain to snow. This is kind of a meh sort of system. Could cause some slick spots early in the morning as temperatures drop. We'll keep an eye on that. Otherwise, more snow showers are back in the forecast for Saturday night. Maybe a smaller chance Sunday night. Not as concerned about that. Wednesday and the Thursday, this one's been kind of putting us in a pickle on what to do with it. This is a southern stream system that looked like it was going to be too far south for any problems and has now risen back northward in the latest model runs. Boo, boo, boo. We don't like that. So we shall see what that tries to do for our area here. A little concerned about that one. That may be kind of a rain to snow scenario. Maybe it stays as all rain. We'll see how the temperature profiles are on that. And then January 24th through 26th, we need to have a conversation about that one. We definitely do. Let's talk about the Wednesday, Thursday one first. And you'll see what I'm talking about here. A lot of the system is to our south by the time the snow really starts to break out as the temperature profiles get to a point where it can snow. So it tries to paint snow from like Memphis up toward Bowling Green, Lexington. Louisville gets like a little shot of it, but it's kind of gone, before it really gets going. Smokies get some snow out of this, maybe North Alabama. It's an interesting system to say the least. This looked like it was too far south for us before. Now it's trended a bit north. So we'll see how that goes. Cameron already saying, hey, next weekend's storm system looks interesting for us. I like the outcomes except for ice. Yes. Maybe winter storm incoming, is saying Nathan. We'll see. Tanya's here from Madison, Indiana. Hello, Tanya. So this is the Wednesday, Thursday situation. All right, let's talk about this next weekend. Oh boy, this one. Brian was talking to you guys earlier today about this system here on Wave Weather Now, and he was at least talking to me, and he probably mentioned to you too, guys, that this has been showing up in the signal analysis since December, this particular time frame here. And in fact, if you go back and look at broadcasts from, I guess, last week, certainly earlier this week, in our Looking for Snow, we had, some January 20-somethings showing up there, even back then. This has been on the books for quite some time here. The, sort of all of the different teleconnections that we use here, the EPO, the WPO, the NAO, the AO, all of that is starting to come into line for a potential southern system with cold air in place. Does that mean snowstorm? No, not quite. It means somebody will probably get a snowstorm, but will it be us? We don't know that exactly for sure. That's why I hand drew this map. I don't want to show you crazy model data and everybody get all whipped up into a frenzy here. But there may be overrunning with this system. What does that mean? That means freezing rain, where cold air is trapped underneath warm air trying to overrun it so that raindrops go down through into a colder atmosphere below and freeze on contact. So freezing rain is a possibility, sleet's a possibility, straight up snow and heavy snow also a possibility with this system here, all right? So the jet structure looks to be in place. You're going to have a phasing of the subtropical jet and the polar jet together kind of over our region here. Low pressure track is one that we really need to watch. This sucker could still cut north and we get rain, by the way. But given the signal that we're seeing for cold air, it would be kind of hard for it to really do that by a ton. Still could happen, though. I don't want to say that we are definitely into some sort of winter storm territory here, because we're not. We are in the keeping an eye on things territory, right? Nothing's guaranteed just yet. I know people throw tomatoes at us on Facebook when we post like, hey, we need to keep an eye on, days 7 through 10 of our forecast, because they're like, oh, it's going to change between now and then. And we very carefully post when we think things are worth watching. We have to have a lot of evidence for a long range thing to make it onto our Facebook page like that, for us to talk about it on TV as well, right? So this isn't just something, one model run that we saw and we are like, oh, phew, look at that, 18Z GFS, looks crazy, right? No, this has been brewing for quite some time. There is a lot behind this. There's a lot of momentum here. So again, the impacts are unknown. They could be significant. We just don't know that. Somebody may get a significant something in the region. Will it be us? Will it be south? Will it be north? Again, we just don't know. The models each, say their own thing. And some of the model runs that you guys have talked about here, that you've seen in the models, you model watchers out there, they've been eye raising. That's for sure. People don't like me talking about ice. Everybody's like, hey, the ice chance is low, right? And I can't say what exactly the ice chance is right now. I know 16 years ago was 2009, and that was not fun. I lived through that. Miserable. Don't want to do that again. That's going to be very rare to ever happen again. So I'm not as, we're not talking about that. All right. It's just not on the table at this point. We need more data and get closer to time before we even start to think about that. We're just in the keeping an eye on things phase, right? That's what we're in right now. So it's not just us blowing smoke about this, right? It's also the Climate Prediction Center. This made the rounds today. I put it on our Facebook page if you want to see it later, the Wave Weather Facebook page. But we are in 3 distinct hazard outlooks from the Climate Prediction Center. I cannot remember the last time we had 3 of them overlap on us like this. These hazard outlooks are kind of new, so it's not like we haven't had this in 50 years or anything dumb like that. No, it's basically, this is the first time we've probably seen this because these are kind of new, but what they show is a long-term outlook for specific weather hazards. And in this case, this would be a heavy snow outlook. And you see that purple, it says low risk. People started throwing tomatoes at us again on Facebook. Oh, it's just a low risk. Their categories, the naming conventions are technically slight, moderate, high, and we have renamed them to low, medium, high. I think low sounds a little higher than slight in this case, but you get the idea. It's not just that it's a very low chance it's not going to happen. It's, hey, we see this, as the Climate Prediction Center would say, we see this risk. And this has risen above our something just to keep an eye on to a something we need to put a pin on. Like, okay, now we're actually really paying attention to this. Even though it's low risk, that just means that the confidence at this distance out in time is not very high. And it's rare you would see a high risk. It's rare this distance out in time, unless it was like a super crazy thing way up north that typically happens, right? For us, you're very rarely ever going to see a medium risk. If 1994 or 2004 or 2015 or 2025, all those snowstorms ever happened again, you would probably only see a low risk at this distance out for those. So just to get your bearings, getting any risk area over us raises eyebrows. Okay, now we've set the stage. So this is the second hazard outlook we're under, heavy precipitation. Notice that overlaps with us. That overlaps with the heavy snow, which means if I'm to get in the head of the forecaster at the Climate Prediction Center, I think they're in Silver Spring, Maryland. If I'm to get in the head of the Climate Prediction Center's forecaster who made these graphics today or yesterday, it was today. Yeah, this is for today. I am probably doing that because there is a significant risk of precipitation that's not just snow. Okay, so what does that mean? That green zone means rain, that green zone means freezing rain, and that green zone means sleet. So the snow and the other precipitation types overlap over us, meaning if you were to, ask the Climate Prediction Center today what they thought might happen, they would probably say a variety of different precipitation types will likely happen over the lower Ohio Valley. Again, that's just what I'm reading into with this outlook that they've put out today. So let's layer on the third one, and this is the unusually cold temps outlook. Again, we've kind of renamed these to make it easier to digest. I think it's like the excessive cold outlook or excessive temperature outlook, but whatever. it shows us in that low risk for unusually cold temps. The medium risk is to our north, across the North Country there of Wisconsin, Michigan, etc. So that risk goes until January 28th. Roads and sidewalks getting accumulation in High Bridge, Kentucky. Thank you, Wavy. So they're thinking at this point, again, I'm getting into the forecaster's mind at the Climate Prediction Center. So you're going to have a snow and mixed precipitation event in Lower Ohio Valley, followed by pretty extreme cold. That's what these three layers that I've just painted on top of here that came from the Climate Prediction Center, what that means to me, and what that probably is what they're indicating with this. So interesting, right? Usually preceding a major winter storm, you get excessive cold. That's what this is. That's what they are talking about. The risk for that, not the guarantee of that. No way, not even close. Again, 7 to 10 days out here, but the risk of that. So that's something to consider. James saw this map on Twitter that I posted. Yeah, I did a 3-panel on there with all three of these, so you could see the overlap between them pretty easily. So, this is certainly something to watch. The signal analysis we're talking about is literally being able to see waves in the atmosphere, how those will arrive, the teleconnections, what they'll be when they arrive, and looking for just kind of day periods of risk based on those waves in the atmosphere making their way toward us, and nothing specific, but just saying like, hey, that's the period. That's where we were in December. Now we're in we see this thing on the models phase. We're not going to share the models because we're not crazy. Because again, tomorrow it could go all rain on the GFS. And 3 days from now, go back to snow. 3 days from then, maybe go to ice. It's going to be drama. And we don't produce drama. What we produce is kind of a solid expectation of more information to come and leading you into and gently kind of, fostering this sort of easing into the reality of what may happen here once we get more specifics. We don't want to hype everybody up and get everybody crazy before it's time to even know the specifics of a system. So that's where we're at here with this. I hope that makes sense. That was a lot of commentary here. So hopefully that gives you a little bit more context to this. When will the Winter Storm Severity Index come out? Monday, Tuesday? I think that goes out to they've got, so like the WPC has something that goes out to 7 days now, like a winter risk area. It's not WSSI, but it's kind of close to that. And that would be like Saturday that would come out. So that would be tomorrow that you might start to see that. We'll see. WSSI, I think, only goes to like 3 days, if memory serves, at least the specific WSSI maps. So that would be, if this were, let's hypothetically say Saturday, because again, we're talking mainly kind of Saturday to Monday, then you would have that like Thursday, probably. So we'll see. All right. All these light snows are boring, says James. Yeah, I get it. Ann Anderson says, prepare and be aware. That's kind of, yeah. Angela is already freaking out. Don't freak out. We don't know yet. Literally don't freak out about stuff we don't know about yet. I'm just literally putting out just kind of the clarion call that, hey, we just need to pay attention, right? We don't know the specifics yet. It could be fine. It could be rain. And it could be just all snow and we avoid ice. Wouldn't that be great too? So we don't want to awfulize this, right? Because that leads us nowhere. We always, our brains, these brains that we have like to a lot of times focus on the worst case scenario, right? Because that's kind of an instinctual trained thing that happens to our minds. But always ask yourself, what if it goes right? What if the best case scenario happens? Realize that there are equal chances of both sometimes. And in this case, we don't know that a worst case scenario would happen because we're still 7 to 10 days out. It's not worth thinking about that hard at this point. All right. So we'll just keep an eye on it and we'll show you the 10-day earliest alert. Let's end with that. I got to get ready for the 11 o'clock news here and hopefully fix some of the technical issues we've had in here. You'll see, of course, we've got that system next weekend that we'll need to pay attention to. Right now, we've got a potpourri of precipitation types followed by some pretty extreme cold there, high of 19 by 2 Mondays from now. And of course, we'll watch that Wednesday, Thursday oddity too. We'll see if we get cold enough to have any problems from that, and if the storm system stays far enough north for a problem. Timothy, by the way, says, Timothy Pardue, snow is never a worst case scenario. I like your thinking on that. Some folks hate snow, some folks love it, like Brian Good. James is saying, do you think there are more time frames after this big snow also? Yes, absolutely. Yes, unequivocally, yes. We're not done after this one. I was looking at the models today, and this pattern's loaded. Again, this is a ripe pattern for snow lovers here. We have nothing more specific than that, just because the model drama is not worth getting into at 7 to 10 to 15 days out. Boo, nobody wants to talk about that. So just keep in mind that end of the month, that may be the core of our winter here. So the two cores of winter may very well be early December when we had all that snow, and then late January, early February. And then once we get to hopefully mid to late February, we'll start to check out of this and start talking more about spring. Carson going to stream tomorrow? Yes, I can almost guarantee he will. So we'll see, especially if he declares another alert day, depending on how these snow showers tomorrow night behave. We'll see how that goes. February looks kind of busy. Yeah, it might be, especially early February. 3 to 4 week outlook looks to stay cold in February. We may see some warm-ups from time to time here. If you want a big snow, you really do want some warm air, at least somewhere nearby, to feed that moisture into here, because super cold air is hard to get snow from. You really want it to be kind of right on the edge of becoming rain for you to get the heaviest snow. It has to be a heavy, wet snow to get the heaviest snow in this area. I bet these little snows are driving you guys crazy. Yes, unequivocally, yes. James, you're speaking the gospel today. Yes, these are driving us crazy. Sometimes it's easier just to have one big thing to focus on. Snow and Buckner. Sometimes it's easier to have one big thing to focus on instead of this scatter shot, sort of like 2, 3, 4 tiny snows that everybody loses their mind over. And it does cause problems, as we saw last night with the crashes in Louisville and other counties surrounding us here with those snow bursts and snow squalls. So, yeah. Angela says, now, haven't we gotten some big snows in March? Yes. March 10th, 2008, I think, 3/10/08, something like that. I think there was a 10-inch snow here in Louisville. It was 3/8/08, 10 inches. I'm trying to remember numbers. So March 8th, 2008, we had 10 inches of snow. I remember it very well. But the roads were actually pretty okay, just because, again, we were right on the edge of freezing there when that happened. Don't rule out winter until April. Yeah, not saying we should rule it out. I'm just saying, like, the worst of the worst, like getting over the hump would probably be once we head toward mid to late February, but we'll see. Again, that doesn't mean we wouldn't get anything after that. It just talking about the midpoint, the worst of the worst, that kind of thing. Could the system Wednesday move north and west, or is it locked in for the deep south? It was around here causing problems on the models. Then it shifted south, and then it came back up north again. It could still come back south again. We'll see. I'm still kind of on the fence about how I feel about that one. We'll see how it goes. I think there's not a lot of cold air at play there with that one, and it's going to be kind of a wet snow scenario if we get something out of that. It could be a lot. We'll see, but I'm more interested in next weekend. There's more support for more shenanigans next weekend than Wednesday and Thursday. Could these types of systems be severe in spring? Yeah. Whenever we have an active winter like this, if that exact pattern sticks around March and April, yeah, that can be a problem. However, we did that last year. Kind of our peak was January, and then we kind of kept the active kind of pattern going, and that resulted in April 2nd. If you remember that, with the tornado in J-Town, March 5th. Was it March 15th, March something, with a big hailstorm? There was a lot that went on severe weather-wise last spring. Since we're going into kind of a La Nada pattern, which means not La Nina or El Nino, coming out of kind of a weak La Nina pattern here, little less certain about how that will impact our severe weather season. I would like to revisit that in February. It's a little too early for me to be thinking about that. How many big days ahead do you know, or how many days ahead will we know if next weekend's a big deal? I would say we would probably flag an alert day on that as early as Sunday. And if all the models are still screaming like they are right now, I could see Carson even trying to do an alert day starting tomorrow. We did discuss that today in the office. It's possible. If it's like still there and still going nuts, then he would do something like that. We'll see, because we want to do it as early as we can to give you the earliest alert. Certainly by Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll start to get real more specific on that. And then you'll get those accumulations probably starting Thursday evening. The numbers from us for the weekend. Thursday evening, we'll probably start to have some semblance of this. There is a small chance, at least, for some ice out of this. I can't say more than that at this point. On the models, the ice zone has been all over the place like a yo-yo. So trying to be like specific with that at this distance out of time is just asinine. It's just not going to work, right? And then Hoosiers. Yes, go Hoosiers down in Miami on Monday. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. I got stuff to do to get ready for our 11 o'clock news here. Thank you so much for joining us this evening on Wave Weather Now. I will see you on Wave, the NBC affiliate here for Louisville, Kentucky at 11 p.m. Eastern time if you're local to us. Otherwise, thanks for watching this evening, and we will continue to monitor next weekend, tomorrow afternoon, that Wednesday, Thursday thing. So much to track here in the forecast. Snow lovers, kind of exciting for you. For the rest of us, buckle up. We'll see you back here at 11. Good night.